Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to enter a realm where the impossible meets the possible. You are entering the Writers Mindscape.
Yeah! Okay. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How you doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 writing podcast here on the 01 podcast group.
It's actually getting bumped down right now. I'm so sorry.
Really?
It somehow slipped into the #2 spot.
How? You don't have any more writing podcasts.
I know. That's kind of what's defying logic right now.
Well, we are the Writers Mindscape. That stuff like that does happen.
Yes.
So we'll just accept it.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Tim, how you doing?
Not too bad. Adam, you?
It's a week.
Yeah, it is. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are in the middle of a long series on world building.
Yes.
The last 2 episodes were more built on like what to do, how to start one. I'm trying to look at my notes and it's too zoomed in. How to expand a world and all that. We're going to be continuing that for this episode and next week's. And then we'll be moving into actually developing world building.
Oh, we have a world that is ripe and ready for stories.
Oh, yeah. We'll be developing, and that's one thing we'll actually be doing in a few weeks. We'll actually be building our own world.
Yes.
Alongside of what we're talking about. And that will eventually open up to our 3 listeners.
All 17 and a half of them.
We have a half?
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's somebody who just hits the play button.
And then just closes out.
Well, I mean, the sad part is they never plugged in either headphones or speakers. They just keep hitting the play button.
And nothing happens?
I mean, it's a 6-year-old. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll be opening it up to you listeners if you like what you hear to write your own stories in the world.
Yeah, we'll set the rules, and you guys get to play in the sandbox.
Yep, and we'll actually be developing our own stories that will hopefully with schedules be able to write and actually put out there.
Right.
But
yeah.
We'll see. So today we're actually going to be focusing on stories in a world which is called an open world. So it's kind of like what we'll be building.
Right.
We'll be building an open world live that eventually you guys will be able to play in. So we wanted to talk about that. A very important thing, at least to me.
Yes.
Adam, as a comic book fan, I don't know, in a Whovian.
Yes.
I don't know how important this is to actually Doctor Who, but I'm assuming from what I've heard, it's not that big and important.
Continuity.
Yeah.
In the world of Doctor Who, that is both extremely important and often ignored.
Okay. So that works out perfectly.
Yes.
But yeah, we're going to be talking about continuity because some people are like, I want continuity, but at the same time, if I have the story rules everything.
Yes.
Which somehow I fall into both camps.
You're like, no, there is a specific continuity that I need to stick to, but this thing.
This story completely wipes out all my continuity. How do I do that? So that's what we're going to be actually talking about, how to do continuity, ways if you don't really care much about continuity, what you can do.
Yeah.
Today, and we'll do a little bit more on this next week when you like with multiple writers.
Right.
This is more like if you're doing it yourself.
Yep.
But it's an open world, like it's all developed, everything's there for it. So again, let's talk about continuity. Adam, what do you know about continuity?
For me, it's a timeline. You're like, okay, these events have happened. There are consequences from these events, and that's why this is set up. Now, at the same time, it's always your history.
Yeah.
That's your foundation. You can play with your foundation because history is always written by the winners.
Yep.
So you can say that it's like, no, well, the reason that we're changing our continuity is because, well, these events weren't written in the way that they actually happened.
Yep. So yeah, that's one way. I'll come back to that in a minute. Like the thought of the actual event, and how people at different time in the future perceive that event.
Right.
In a second, but the main thing is it's not just continuity with history, which is the easiest visual. You can see the timeline, stuff like that. perceive. But it's also maintaining balance with what you've already established, period.
Right.
So if you have a race of people who must eat a specific plant after age 40 to remain living or something like that, to fight off against disease,
Yeah.
you better stick to that. Like, that was back in like 1,000 years ago in your world. Now you're 1,000 years, and medical breakthrough hasn't got, like, medicine has exploded throughout the world, but not for that culture. You better still be sticking to that thing.
Yes.
Or you better come up with a better solution that happened in between the time to explain for that.
Advancement in technology now that they can synthesize it instead.
Yeah. Or they found a better plant that instead of having to continue to eat, they found if you eat it for majority of a year or something like that, it builds up in the system and it just solves the problem.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you can play around with.
Are we talking about like Tylenol here suddenly?
Probably. Who knows?
Because that really is after 30, it kind of becomes a permanent part of your life.
I don't know about for you. I hate Tylenol. It does nothing for me.
Yeah.
Ibuprofen.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
But, yeah. Pain reliever. Everyone over
Yeah.
the age of 30 is out there going, dude, I understand.
Yeah. If you're not 30, just wait.
Yeah, dude, enjoy your 20s.
Yeah.
Because you get to do some crazy stuff there.
And you
In
pay
about-
for it in your 30s.
In about 10 years, you're going to feel it every day.
Yep.
You're going to wake up and go, why did I do that?
Screw you, past Tim. Why'd you have to go do that? I was like, oh,
Past Tim sitting there going, that was a problem for future Tim to deal with.
yeah,
I'm good.
I'm good. So, but that's one thing. Just keeping the things what you say. If you're doing a lot of the issues you'll see is like magic. You have established rules for your magic.
Right.
And then somewhere along the line, you just break them.
I mean, it's one thing if you have a character
Yeah.
that can just break the rules, and you're like, all right, you do kind of have to have something that can break the rules,
Yep.
because otherwise, why do you have these rules?
Yep. Or if you like, one way you can do it is, rules can be broken, but there's a huge consequence for breaking them.
Right. To keep your continuity, there
Yeah.
has to be a reason why these rules were set up.
Yep. There was I can't remember the name of this series. I've only went through the first book, and I kind of blanked on the first portion of the book because I was working on something when I was listening to it.
Wow.
So I missed I was so focused I lost it. I went through the
okay.
entire book. Like, I'm confused what's going on because
You continued on. You were like,
Yeah.
I have to go back and make sure.
I just decided to keep going. But like for the magic system, it was like it deals with patterns. I think it's like a pattern of light and dark is the
Okay.
series name. But patterns is like the magic system and like that. And there's a certain rule, like if you try to put too much into breaking the rules to a point and they break, you just cease to exist.
Oh, wow. There
So you
is
can
a-
break it and you do something, but you're gonna cease to exist.
All right,
So-
that's a little too drastic.
yeah, but that's something like you can do if you want to break. We're also talking about rules of the actual like laws of
Yeah.
the universe and actual laws of society or the people who do the magic or whatever we're talking about. It's a different thing. Continuity. But you can also break continuity if you haven't fully explored the entirety of that area.
Right.
Like magic, one of the best things Brandon Sanderson always says, add depth before you add something new. If you can keep adding depth, you can constantly change that like portion of like magic or whatever you're doing, continuity, because you're expanding.
It evolves.
But when you're expanding it, you have to make sure it falls in line.
Yeah. You
That's the main
can't
thing.
just suddenly flip a switch and be like, well, none of the rules matter anymore. Ha ha.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. The rules should still matter in some way or not, especially with your continuity.
Yeah.
Unless, you're playing with time travel. And then, quite honestly, continuity actually goes out the window unless you're trying to have it be an enclosed story. Then it has to be character continuity, not
Yeah.
actual timeline.
You can try. Then you get scenes from like Big Bang Theory when they're trying to explain Back to the Future when Biff goes to the past to give the almanac. Future Biff goes back, but he somehow makes it back to his future
Without actually changing anything.
And watching them actually explain it on the chalkboard, it's like it makes sense, but you're like, I'm still lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like really fun like that. But going back to what you were saying, like history versus events. If you have a story in the future and it references these events and it's one way, and then you actually decide, oh, I want to write that, you're not locked into the future because, again, the winners write the history.
Right.
So therefore, you can go. You have free reign in that story. But when you go from an event here in the past to the future, and nothing really has been lost, you gotta kind of keep track of that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be like, for us that, World War II, there are a ton of personal stories in there.
Yep.
We just know the overview.
Yeah.
Because that's what history taught us. And every country tells it a little bit differently.
Oh, yeah.
But there are consequences that we still live today from that era. And it's like, okay, well, see, that's your continuity.
Yep.
You can't just suddenly go back and tell a story that happened, 70, 80 years ago, and it totally changes the event that happened. You're breaking continuity too much there.
Like saying the Holocaust never existed because the United States wanted to get into the war. Yeah. If you want to believe that, go ahead. You're crazy, but... yeah. So
conspiracy theory. Look.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But so that's just one way. But you just make sure you know what your continuity is.
Right.
I'm a big I love continuity. I want continuity, but I'm also punished by the love of the story. If I got something that breaks my continuity, it drives me nuts. I eventually come up with solutions because the way my brain works is it will solve that problem.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can still do the story. Will fit my continuity. It just might take me a long time to let it sit in the back and let creative juices just bathe in it and stew.
All right.
Adam, this next part I want to talk about, which is, as you said, from Doctor Who, but also your love of comics are very familiar with this. If you have a problem, you have a story you want to tell, but it hurts your continuity, you can do, what is it called?
Retcons.
You can just retcon it all.
Oh,
just
yeah.
Change it. I'm telling this story. I don't care if it changes. Oh, I'll just go back and this really happened.
Well, I mean, you can do that. You can have a new event happen that changes the rules.
Yep.
You can time travel. By the way, time travel is your greatest weapon regarding main event retcons.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is go back, change 2 little things, and then in the future, when you go back to your timeline, huge things have changed. And you're like, all right, we fixed that problem.
But you should also have consequences for those, too.
Yes.
We'll cover that stuff later at a later time.
I mean, because that creates plot holes.
Yes.
Which, by the way, sometimes plot holes are your friends.
Oh, yeah. Because it leaves mystery.
Right. Now, the bad plot holes are when you basically have a major change and no one says anything about it.
Yeah.
And you're like, so no one realized that there was a change?
Yeah.
Even the people that traveled back in time did the change, came back forward, and were just like, nope, nothing happened. Yeah. We're good here, right? Yep, we're good. All right, moving on.
Yeah. No.
No.
No. Kind of like having Indiana Jones be the hero of Indiana Jones. What was the first one?
What do you mean?
The Ark of the Covenant. I can never remember the names.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. I can never remember any of the actual titles of the Indiana Jones movies. I'm terrible.
Well, now that you got my mind working on that. So Raiders of the Lost Ark.
No, just for that one.
Yep.
Where Indiana Jones has no involvement in the outcome of that movie. If he wasn't there, the Nazis still would have gotten the Ark, opened it, and died.
Yeah. Really, they would have.
Yeah. So,
well, it would have taken them longer to find the Ark because he's actually the one that figures out where it is.
Yeah,
but that outside of that, they still would have stumbled upon it eventually.
They would have gotten it, and they
still would have opened it.
No, because the reason why we were doing the wrong place is because Indy had the amulet. If he didn't go to get the amulet, they would have found the amulet and dug in the right spot.
Wow. So they would have done it even faster then.
Yes. So it's like there was a whole Big Bang Theory episode on this that revealed this.
That's actually, you know what? That's actually really good writing. That means that you wrote an entire story with a main character that, quite honestly, never changed the events that happen.
Yeah. It's good writing in bad writing. But at the same time, it's done and executed so well, who cares? It's a good movie.
Exactly.
But yeah, you can just go and retcon everything. Like, comics do it all the fucking time. Though I don't know about DC. I think DC's doing the same, trying to do a better job of it as well. Marvel seems to be kind of doing a little bit better. Like, at least when they tried to reboot their world, they did a story to reboot it.
Well, I mean, DC has done a story every 10 years to reboot their timelines or this or that or anything. This is the first time that Marvel recently has had to ever do that.
And they, instead of just starting from scratch like they did with the Ultimate Universe,
right?
Which was, they did that on purpose. They wanted.
Oh yeah, that was meant to be separate and do its own thing.
But they want just to draw people who were wanting to get into comics, but it was so much continuity. Like, where do I begin?
Yeah,
it was a good way to start. Secret Wars is a great place. Like, I'm trying to read through that now. I don't have much time, but that seems like that's a great story. To help eventually reboot.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it does kind of catch you up on how characters are, interact with each other.
Yep.
It resets the rules of the characters.
Yep.
And then you have basically a new world.
But the same continuity of everything behind it,
still
in a way exists without actually just wiping it and starting over.
Exactly.
So that's one of the things you can do. If you want to do it, I say try to make it work. Yes, again, the plot hole is your friend when you do it right.
Right.
Because it leads to eventually a different story if you want to tell.
Yeah.
You may not have the solution to that. You don't have to give it.
You don't need that solution sometimes.
Give a lame excuse. Let people know it's lame, but then reveal it sometime later if you want to. Oh, I just gave that because I didn't have an excuse and I wanted something in there.
Yeah. Really look at it. The biggest plot hole is that Batman can beat Superman with enough time and planning.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's no.
Yeah.
In reality, Superman would just flick a stone from space or heat vision him from a very far distance and kill him immediately. Well, it's easy.
That's if they're going actually like a Mortal Kombat, if you're going to fight type thing.
Well, yeah. But I mean, then you have your continuity rules where like they won't do that. They won't step past a certain line.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh no, we have to make Batman this really awesome character.
Oh yeah.
Because otherwise, he's like, when you break down Batman, he's just a billionaire.
Yep.
He's not an inventor.
And he's bored.
He just really can fight.
Yep, and he's bored.
Yeah. He doesn't have anything else in his life.
And tragic backstory.
Yeah.
There we go. But yeah, so you can retcon it. The main thing, if you do want to try to establish a good continuity, figure out what your rules are going to be.
Yeah.
And just follow them.
Yeah.
And remember, you wrote the rules, so you get to break them.
Exactly.
For that. That's all we have tonight. You have anything else to say?
One final rule, though. Always err on the side of awesome.
Yes.
Seriously, if you go, hey, this battle would be really awesome if this happens, just go, okay, it's going to happen. We'll figure out how to explain it later on.
Yep.
Or it was a one-off miracle event.
Yeah.
It's like our main character actually stopped a nuclear weapon with his pinky. And you're like, well, why? And I was like, because he really, really wanted to do it.
The odds is happening to be that one in a quadrillion of odds of me being able to stop a moving rocket with a nuclear device in it with my pinky just happened.
Exactly. I mean, you could also, err on the side of awesome, and they didn't save the day.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what we have for this week. Check in with us next week.
Yep.
Make sure you comment down your thoughts below on continuity, retcon, stuff like that.
You got a question? We'll try to answer it.
Yep. Smash that subscribe button.
There you go.
Hit the notification, ring that bell, because
ding.
If you don't, you may not get told when all of our videos go live.
Yeah.
Because YouTube kind of does that if you don't put alerts on.
I'm on my YouTube feed all the time, and I've missed random things too.
I really don't care if I miss any things. I eventually find them on my own. There's only like one or two things I actually had that notification I want to know.
Same here.
Yeah, so, but yeah, do that. And again, just remind, check about us next week.
Thank you.